From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? Wake Up War Chant. It's the name of the show. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We're going to have our Renegade Express go down tomorrow. Get involved. Give us a call, 850-792-5730, 850-792-5730. Also, leave your questions on the Tribal Council. We'll get to those as well. If you're not a member of warchant.com, what are you waiting for? Corey, it'd be a good birthday gift for the Seminole in your life if you don't have a membership to warchant.com, wouldn't you say?
It would be a great birthday gift or a Christmas gift, my man. I mean, you know, it'd be a great gift any month of the year, but especially December. What a great stocking stuffer that would be.
Yeah,
I don't know what it would be. I guess maybe a 8x10 of you and me in the stocking saying "Welcome to War Chant."
Maybe we can do that. We'll sign some glossy photos, some 8x10 glossies.
Yeah, man, people would love that stuff.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. All right. So as we record this on Tuesday evening, it's Tuesday night. It's not evening. It's Tuesday night. We're working hard for you folks. Florida State still does not have an offensive coordinator. We like to believe that by Wednesday afternoon we'll know at least the latest on Hugh Freeze. But from where we stand right now, Florida State's still without an offensive coordinator. Again, Walt Bell went ahead and actually tweeted out that he's going to UMass. So he gone. It was a nice, polite tweet, you know. He thanked the people in Tallahassee for being kind. The only reason I saw was because you retweeted it, Corey.
Yeah, did you not follow old Walt on Twitter?
Nope.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Yeah. You didn't miss anything, by the way. I don't remember him tweeting much at all during the season. So you didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah, I keep my ratio low. I don't like to follow a lot of folks. I like to keep my feed quite streamlined. But yeah, I don't follow anybody. I follow the Florida State football account, but I don't follow Willie. I didn't follow Jimbo. I didn't follow Bowden. Okay. So you know, I'm consistent across the board.
You didn't follow Bobby Bowden's Twitter feed. Are you crazy?
I know.
That guy was all the time tweeting.
Was he? Just
memes and GIFs, the whole thing. He had it wired.
You know who does tweet is DJ Matthews. Speaking of, did you see the tweet that DJ Matthews ripped off on Tuesday afternoon?
I did, yeah.
That didn't strike to me as – I like DJ. We've talked to DJ numerous times. DJ sounds like a pretty conscientious, connected young man. I thought that was a little bit in poor taste. If you haven't seen it, folks, DJ tweeted out, "Proud of you, my guy," 100, heart emoji. "But this level was a little too much for you. Get paid, WB." The WB being Walt Bell. "I know I'll see you in that league one day."
Yeah, and then didn't somebody come up and say something to him? Like, didn't he retweet? Somebody tweeted something at him, and he retweeted. It's like, no, Walt Bell knows. I would never disrespect him. Coach Bell knows what I mean.
I didn't see the person say anything to DJ. I did see the tweet by DJ clarifying himself, to which point I would say, DJ, would you want Walt Bell to say, you know, proud of you, my guy, but this level is just a little too much for you, but I hope to see you there someday? Like, would you want Walt Bell to say those words about you, even if it's an inside joke? But it's all good. DJ knows what I'm saying. I wouldn't want Corey to be like, proud of you, Aslan. This level, hosting a daily podcast with 10,000 guys and ladies listening every day, a little too much for you, but get paid.
You best believe that's what's coming, though. If and when you ever go somewhere else, that's going to be the tweet I send to you. Because I think it's been obvious over the last 11 months that you're not quite there. Not quite there. This is big boy stuff. You can go back to Dothan or, one of those plantation cities in Mississippi. Easy. It's this big boy. This is ACC big boy football. But there's no way that I don't, maybe he didn't realize what it read like, or maybe it's just a goofy inside joke. Because he follows that up by saying, I'll see you in the league.
No, he said, I'll see you in that league. Almost like that league, like you're not good enough to be on this level in big-time football. I know I'll see you again in that league. I feel like where the big boys go. Like I'll see you be a success. I kind of feel like not necessarily the NFL, but maybe it is the NFL.
No, either way, I really don't. It's a 21-year-old tweeting at a what is he, a 34-year-old?
Yeah.
Who knows what their conversations were like. More importantly, a poster on the tribal council. Guys, get in there. It is a really fun place to be this time of year for sure. A lot of real rational, well thought out posts. Not a lot of griping at all on that on the TC. Somebody pointed out in one of the mini Walt Bell, Sam Howell threads. And it's a good point. So I can't remember who it is. I apologize who it was. But he said, why would Walt Bell be the key to a top 100 quarterback going to play somewhere? What's Walt Bell's track record with quarterbacks? That, Walt Bell's not going to be there? Well, no, then I can't be there. I can't go. I got to go play with the quarterback whisperer. My man, you saw what he did with DeAndre this year. I got to go play for that guy. It's really bizarre. Like, I get Jimbo leaving and somebody saying, I don't want to go play quarterback for Willie Taggart. I want to go play for a guy that'll get me to the league. What has Walt Bell ever done quarterback-wise, development-wise, in Sam Howell's eyes, that's the guy you got to go play for? And obviously he isn't, because he's not following him to UMass. So the only reason Sam Howell was coming to Florida State was Walt Bell?
Well, it's the relationship, man. Willie's even said it when people ask him about, does the Florida game, is it going to affect your recruiting? And he says, no, recruiting is years-long relationships that you establish with these players and their families. And Walt at Maryland was the first Power 5 offer that Sam ever got. So I think, maybe they're a weird family, the Howells. Maybe, that token, that demonstration of goodwill and faith in their son, they want to be maybe loyal to Walt. Walt believed in their son. So if he was
like at UAB,
what was that?
You'd go play for Walt because he was the first one to offer you?
I don't know about that. No, he's not going to follow Walt no matter what. I don't think, like you said.
So then there is more to it than just Walt Bell. I guess that's what I don't understand. He's not. I think Florida State's pretty appealing on its own. That you wouldn't need Walt Bell to be the key to unlock whether you're going to go. You're going to go play. Obviously, people that don't know, the rumor now is that he's probably more leaning towards North Carolina than Florida State. So you're going to go play for 67, 8-year-old Mac Brown,
national championship winning Mac Brown.
Sure, yeah. And I've watched Sam Howell's highlights. He looks a lot and plays a lot like the guy that won the national championship at Texas for Mac Brown. Any rate, who's his offensive coordinator? What relationship does he have with him?
Well, it's home. It's North Carolina. It's home.
No, I get that. But so Walt Bell leaving, it's just a bizarre thing, man. I get how relationships are important, but if Florida State had been really good this year in 10-2, nobody's thinking Walt Bell was going to be Sam Howell's quarterback coach for 4 years.
Right, but at least if
he left earlier than we thought. But Sam Howell and his family had to know that Walt Bell probably wasn't going to be at Florida State from 2018 to 2022.
Right, but I would think that if they were 10-2 and they saw that, they would feel good about if Walt left, that program would be in good hands after Walt left. But this program's 5-7 right now, so there's that.
Well, yeah, but what's North Carolina?
Yeah,
that's another thing. He's not going to Alabama. Like, if he goes, he's gonna spurn Florida State, which is fine. I get it. It's home. Good luck, man. Go to the school that's never won anything ever. Their highlight of their entire existence is losing to a highly ranked Florida State team in 1997 and having Lawrence Taylor. Those are the two big accomplishments in their entire history. So cool, man. Go have at it. I'm sure Mac Brown will turn it around again. A lot of 68-year-olds go to places and reinvigorate them and reignite them. But that you don't know. It just if it wasn't North Carolina, if he was going to even like anywhere, man, name a place that has more tradition and history than like Arizona State, even it would make more sense. But leave it to spurn Florida State because Walt Bell leaves. When again, it's Walt Bell's been an OC, a Power 5 OC for 3 years, 2 at Maryland and 1 at Florida State, and none of his quarterbacks did jack squat. Now, I know in Maryland they got hurt. It's just odd that relationship would be the key to the whole thing.
I don't know how odd it is. I mean, it's happened. I mean,
who's North Carolina's QB coach?
Does Florida State get Jameis Winston if Damian Craig is in here?
I don't know that, but he wouldn't have left Florida State. He wouldn't have decided to go to UAB if he didn't go to Florida State.
I think, man, I don't know how far Florida State and UNC are right now to make that sort of comparison. Like I understand what you're saying. Florida State obviously is much more accomplished and established and revered than North Carolina in football, by and large, of course, for sure. But right now, it's a pretty apples to apples comparison, and you can either be close to your family.
Not close. It's not close. What? I know you're coming off a bad year. It's not close. It's like saying North Carolina and Florida State are the same in basketball because Florida State's coming off an Elite Eight. It is not close. There is no comparison between Florida State and North Carolina. And again, I just don't the whole Walt Bell angle, because he just doesn't have a great track record. And I'm not saying he should. I'm not like begrudging the kid. Go where you feel comfortable. If Walt Bell was the only reason you were coming to Florida State or the main reason, and he leaves, then go for it, man. Go somewhere else. But that just seems odd to me that Walt Bell was the reason that kid was coming to Florida State. Especially when Walt Bell doesn't call the plays. I mean, it's Willie Taggart's offense. So that, I don't know if he's coming or going, and I don't think it's I honestly don't think it's a huge deal either way. But, Walt Bell leaving isn't Jimbo Fisher leaving. It's not even Damian Craig leaving. It's just a guy leaving to go coach at UMass.
Did you just compliment Jimbo?
Oh, I'd compliment Jimbo all the time, buddy. Who you talking to? Who you talking to? I've complimented Jimbo all the time. He got me out to L.A. twice.
Just checking. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things make me angry, obviously. I'm not upset by this. I'm not bothered. Best of luck to the kid if he comes to Florida State. If he doesn't, best of luck to the kid as well. I don't know how much of a silver bullet solution he was going to be to Florida State's woes. I mean, he obviously can develop and perhaps be a really good college quarterback, maybe even something beyond that. But I'm just so focused on this program getting fixed now in the immediate short term that it didn't really bother me if he doesn't come or not. But they're going to be in trouble with quarterbacks because they don't have one committed now if he falls off, and they're only going to have maybe one on scholarship if Francois or James Blackman decides to leave. I guess another part of this puzzle as we wait to see who's going to be Florida State's next offensive coordinator, and Gene Williams, our founder and administrator of WarChant.com, who, by the way, Corey, I read an email finally that he sent to me on Monday. I'm reading it. He said that it's fine if we go ahead and do the show only 3 times a week instead of 5 times a week.
Oh, cool. On right now, our 3rd show of the week.
Yeah, but we're going to do a show tomorrow because that's what we do. We don't do the.
And then I'm sure they'll get a coordinator on Friday, so we'll do an emergency one on Saturday. What time is our Christmas episode going to drop?
Is
that like 12:01? Is that like right when Santa comes down the chimney, or do we pace it out to like 9 or 10?
I'll let you make that call.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But shout out to Willie. Thanks, man. I'd rather be covering a game, but this is fun to me. The whole uncertainty, the unknown, and the fact that we're swimming in deep waters with some really big names. I mean, they're talking about Hugh Freeze again. That is the one name that we've heard. I think Gene's got another name that he's keeping under wraps in case Hugh Freeze falls through. Grad transfer stuff now too. So we're involved in this, man. This is the best part of college football. I think if you're not competing for the championship, I mean, who cares about the Meineke Car Care Bowl, right? Unless you've been to 36 in a row and you want to keep that streak going. Otherwise, this is kind of fun to know there's change on the horizon, maybe radical change on the horizon. I'm stoked, and quarterbacks now are the next thing that people are talking about. Will there be a grad transfer? Gene Williams has said as much that there is a well-known grad transfer that's in play for Florida State. And the mind starts wandering about the possibilities of things. That's the one thing I think the quarterback can make things instantly better for this team, but if it's a grad transfer, it's not going to be a long-term solution. So I feel like I almost kind of went back on my whole word about where I thought Sam Howell was going to fit into things. But if a grad transfer does come, Corey, and I guess some people are talking about a scrambling kind of quarterback. Khalil Tate from Arizona is a name that's being floated out there. It sort of people are saying, well, if he comes, then that means that Blackman probably leaves. That bums me out, man. I don't know why I feel such an affinity and loyalty to James Blackman, but I'd hate to think that he's going to get pushed out the way for DeAndre Francois in 18 and then a grad transfer in 19. Now, he ain't sitting another year, right? I mean, there's no way he sits another year.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of levels to it because I just can't fathom that they're not going to bring in a quarterback, whether it's Sam Howell or not, whether he decides to go to UMass or not. I can't fathom them not bringing in a quarterback because one of them is you would have to imagine, and Gene had one of the, Gene talked about maybe Francois being a possible transfer and one of the universities he might be thinking about transferring to. Obviously, folks, if you want this privileged information, get on the tribal council.
Yep.
Don't just count on us. There's a lot of good nuggets on there all the time, and he's updating them. You get your an 11 a.m. update, you get your 9 p.m. update, an 8:15 p.m. update. Get on there, and I wonder. It's got to be good for business, right? All this uncertainty, because it's not just you just lost an offensive coordinator, and again, you're not replacing a linebackers coach. This is a really big deal.
Yeah.
But also, your starting quarterback might be leaving, and your star quarterback recruit might not be coming now. So you got to figure out who's going to take his place and who's going to be your quarterback depth chart next year, and all the OC names that are out there. It's a really, you're right. It is kind of an interesting, fascinating time to cover Florida State and to be trying to keep your finger on the pulse of this thing.
Again, I don't know if it was Plato or Socrates who talked about the Greek Empire, and when they do it big. So,
right.
if this thing is going to go
exactly
off the
right. When the Greeks do it, they do it big. And when it comes to the grad transfer quarterback, I've thought all along that was the thing that made the most sense. But it's Kelly Bryant's off the table. Obviously, he's going to Missouri. I loved how people tweeted about that, like that was some great get for Missouri. They're going to go for that from the Mock kid to that dude, who I think has like 15 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions.
Drew
in his
Lock,
career.
not Mock. Matt Mock's gone. Matty Mock's gone.
What's his name? Lock. That's right. Lock. Yeah. That's going to be a bit of a step down, but he can run. And, Jalen Hurts can run. The kid in Arizona can run. We have no way of knowing if either one of these kids are on the table, if they're actually coming. But you could deal with I think you could risk losing James Blackman to get a year of Jalen Hurts if you're Willie Taggart. It does suck for James Blackman. He's a good teammate, good dude, a real Florida State through and through guy. But, he wasn't a Willie Taggart guy. Willie Taggart obviously doesn't think he's a great quarterback because he didn't play at all this year except for one game. And this isn't a great fit for him, apparently. And so, you got to move on. And they saved him a red shirt. So if he leaves and they bring in a grad transfer and then a freshman, some sort of freshman, then you're going to be left with two. I guess that's the way of the world. You're going to have two quarterbacks on your depth chart, like every big time program now.
Crazy.
But that's got to be it, right? I think for the short term, if it's a guy like a Jalen Hurts, and I'm not judging him on what he did against Georgia because that was insanity. He's not that good a quarterback, but he is a guy that can run. And he ran for 1,100 yards. He's a guy you can count on 3rd and 2 to get you a first down. He runs that option pretty well. He's a good athlete. He's a winner. Now, we're all winners if you play at Alabama, but he's won a lot of games. He's played in some big games. He seems like a good kid that he didn't leave in the middle of the season. So I think that would be a home run for Willie Taggart to get somebody like that. The problem is, when would you even know? He's not going to announce that he's leaving anytime before the national championship game, and you still have to recruit. And there aren't a lot of not uncommitted quarterback prospects out there. So if they think that Howell is leaving because the great Walt Bell is left, then they got to have a backup plan quickly, because you cannot go into this season with what? James Blackman in a walk-on, or DeAndre Francois in a walk-on? That can't happen. So they got to figure something out. And I'm sure they have. I'm sure Willie has some irons in the fire, and it kind of has an idea what he's going to be doing.
Why do we do this? Like, Walt Bell's gone now, so now we're going to make fun of Walt Bell.
No, I'm not. You think I'm making fun of Walt Bell. I'm making fun of the notion that a kid, his whole college career would hinge on Walt Bell. I get that he offered him first and they have a relationship, but it's not so strong that he's going to UMass. And that's all I'm saying. It just, what have we seen from Walt Bell? What has the Howell family seen from Walt Bell to think that guy? It's just odd that's the only reason apparently that he was coming to Florida State was that guy.
No, I follow. It's just on the boards and Twitter now. It's just like, well, this all makes sense of why the offense didn't look good. Obviously, he wasn't on the same level as Willie. It's like, I mean, that was not a theory on any we never talked about, which doesn't mean that it's not out there in the open or it being talked about. But if all the problems that were going on, I never thought to myself, well, you know what, man, I think this is one of the symptoms of just having a really bad OC. Like I never thought.
I think that. I don't think that at all. I think what I think became crystal clear was that it didn't work.
When did it become crystal clear?
Oh, I mean, it became crystal clear. What, Syracuse? Game 5, Game 7?
Yeah.
It didn't work. What was going on with the two? It just didn't. It was not. I don't even want to say it was a good fit. It might have been a great fit with a good offensive line. Who knows? But you can't look at 2018 objectively and say that either one of them did a very good job because it was a horrible offense. So I think, to me, and I said this after the Florida game, I was like, man, I think everything should be on the table. And I don't know if I said it to you or on headlines. I talk so much these days.
Nobody's job was safe. Nobody's job was safe after that.
That's what I was thinking. And I know that Harlan Barnett's probably the most safe just because of what they'd owe him. But nobody's job should have been safe after that debacle. And the way they kind of petered out that last game was just the penalties, and it was just gross. So if Willie decided at that point, man, I got to get somebody in here that I can hand the keys over and trust them to do a good job. It's not going to be as simple as just let's run my offense and I'll have a guy to kind of steer it a little bit. He's going to give the whole car to somebody. Then, that makes sense that you would go in another direction. But I hope nobody's pinning what happened this year on Walt Bell.
It's happening.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all Willie Taggart, man. From the hire to the way the offense looked. I mean, we can't say Walt Bell did a good job, but we have no idea what he was in control of and what he wasn't. We know that he's running Willie Taggart's system, and Willie Taggart's offense in 2018 was the worst in the country. Well, that's not true. It was one of the worst in the country. It's the worst we've ever seen. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I certainly don't blame Walt Bell for what happened in 2018.
All right, you're sounding negative like I am. Let's talk about lighter things. So Mike Locksley, the Alabama offensive coordinator, was announced as the head. Maryland went ahead and they've announced that it's Brett McMurphy had it first. He's no longer reporting about bowl games. He's now tweeting about coaching news. So good for Brett. But right. Mike Locksley, former offensive coordinator for Maryland, was actually interim coach for them. Went 1-5, career 3-31 as a head coach. Another happy graduate of the Nick Saban rehabilitation program. Good grief. Just anything. I just want to be in Nick Saban's life somehow. And I don't know, but my life will exponentially change for the better. So good for him. Maryland went ahead and confirmed it. The university tweeted out, welcome home. Potentially that might be an outlet for Hugh Freeze to go into. But again, I don't know. The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, I think, obviously I know for sure last year put a kibosh on Saban bringing him in as an analyst. Can Saban go to him and be like, well, listen, Florida State's thinking about getting him. Do we want that team doing well? Let's keep it all in the family here. Maybe they let up on it, but it seems like he already has his next in line guy, Dan Enos, he was in Arkansas at Bielema 2 years ago and has been the receivers coach. Seems like the most likely guy to slide in and fill in Mike Locksley's role. I don't know if he's going to coach him through the playoff or what, but I don't know if that
I'm sure he will. I mean, don't they always?
Well, except for Lane, and then they lost. Let Sark call the plays, and then they lost, and then you guys.
Yeah, because they had Sark on staff for the whole year.
Yeah, and then you guys.
A former USC head coach was just on staff, hanging out as a quality control assistant.
Just hanging out. The Hugh Freeze thing to me just again, this is to me it's like an exciting situation. If you're going to be 5-7, good grief, it's a lot more fun to talk about this than I don't know what Arizona is talking about. Changing their coordinators and things like that. But who's really going to go to Arizona? What kind of fish are they going to fry? They might lose their quarterback too. But I don't know. If they can get Hugh Freeze again, I think that's just an instant guy that comes in, has an idea of what he wants to run, and there's no way that Willie's going to. And I don't want to say meddle. That it's his program. He can do what he wants. But I don't see a guy like that coming to a place like Florida State out of his comfort zone to take marching orders or to have a co-coordinator sort of title. I think that you let him rip, and I don't know. But ultimately, though, if you do bring in Freeze, a guy who you think is probably going to be here for like 2 or 3 years at the most, and you bring in a grad transfer quarterback, and somehow this team squeezes out 9 wins next year, that say they're 9-3, 9-4. Is this just like you said? I guess, right. This is pushing the boulder down the road. Like, you just have to get the damn thing rolling, and don't worry about what you have to do to get the thing rolling. Just get it rolling, and then from there you got some momentum, and then maybe Willie can start piecing things together, recruit a good high school quarterback, get a good receivers coach maybe to work under Hugh Freeze that can take over. These are good things, right? No matter, it's hard to imagine other than the PR hit. You get a good grad transfer quarterback. You get a guy who was a SEC head coach, 2 wins over Nick Saban, 2 New Year's 6 bowl games. It's hard to imagine it'd be a bad thing.
No, it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a bad thing other than, I mean, depending on what you think of Hugh Freeze as a human being, but as a football coach, he's got the bona fides for sure. As far as Alabama goes, man, I know that people think that maybe he would go there. What a weird fit. Like, I know we always talk and joke about how the SEC is so incestuous, but that seems even creepier than just normal incest. I mean, that's a guy that beat you twice, that did what he did on the recruiting trail, did what he did off the field, and then you're going to sell. I mean, I know Nick Saban could hire, literally almost anyone. Art Briles and Alabama fans would be on board with it. But that just seems like a really hard sell. And quite frankly, does he need Hugh Freeze? What Mike Loxley's career record is 3-31 as a head coach. He's not an offensive mastermind by any stretch of the imagination. He never has been. Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, none of these guys are geniuses. They work for Nick Saban and they get a second chance at life, apparently. They get a second chance in this business. And I don't think that Nick Saban views Hugh Freeze as somebody he has to have. I think he's probably saying to himself, man, I could get a chimp from the zoo to be my OC with Tua, and he's going to be a Broyles Award finalist and probably be rumored to be a head coach at an SEC school next year. That's how it works. And I don't know if he would do that, if he would. I don't know. You don't know the dynamics and the relationship between the two guys. At the same time, you don't know how Hugh Freeze, after he's been a head coach, would take to being an assistant, because he would be an assistant and he would have to take orders.
But it's Nick Saban. It's Nick Saban.
No, I'm saying if he came to Florida State.
Oh, right.
Because Willie Taggart is not Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And not only does Hugh Freeze know that, Willie Taggart knows that. So is Hugh Freeze going to be okay with taking orders from a guy that I'm quite sure he thinks he's a better coach than? There's a lot of levels and a lot of dynamics at play when it comes to hiring a guy like that. Not just the personal stuff. I'm really not caught up on Hugh Freeze, if it's Hugh Freeze or if it's somebody else. It would be nice for Willie Taggart, I think, in the short term to hire a name that people know. Mm-hmm. More than anything, he's got to hire a guy that he really thinks can do a good job and let him do a good job. Let him bring in his offense if he has to. If he has a variation of your offense, let him bring that in and run it. Like Cliff Kingsbury doesn't run the Gulf Coast offense. If he was available, would Willie Taggart have hired him?
Well, he was. He was available. He went to Southern Cal.
No, I mean, he was already down the road with USC, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying, or does Willie Taggart have to have a guy that runs that particular system? I want to know, where does Willie Taggart's ego end? And is he able to just completely give over the offense to someone else?
I think so, because reading between the lines and what Ira said last night and what Ira's reported, in his column, yesterday and in the sit down that he had with, President John Thrasher, this feels like a lot of administrative input, a lot of if we're going to get this thing right, Willie, this is what we have to do. I don't know how much of this. It's bizarre to think that Willie Taggart's like, I'm going to let Walt Bell leave, or this is not going to work. I'm going to go after Hugh Freeze. This feels like a consensus was kind of built. This was, I don't know if it was John Thrasher or David Coburn or Ed Burr, who's involved and who's in the room, but this feels like the only way, I don't want to say the only way, but the quickest way to get this thing fixed and to get this thing right is that, okay, we'll pony up the money, but you got to get somebody in here that's top flight, and you can't get in the way of it. And I think Willie's probably signed off on it because, again, they're pursuing these sort of names. Now, the problem is if they don't get Hugh Freeze, and I don't think Hugh Freeze is the best thing that's ever happened. I'll tell you what, though, in 2014, I did not want any part of him going to Gainesville. When they got rid of Muschamp, Hugh Freeze was the number one candidate for Florida, and thankfully Jimmy Sexton is his agent, and Jimmy Sexton was able to leverage rumblings about Florida's interest into him getting a long-term contract at Ole Miss, where they ponied up and he was getting $2 million a year. I think he got close to $5 million a season after the 2014 year. That was the one guy I wanted no part of going to Florida. So to have him come to Florida State,
but wouldn't that be partly because of the players he had, and now that we know, I mean, we assumed at the time, but how he got those players, isn't that your biggest concern? Is wow, that guy can really recruit.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, and his offenses were good. I mean, he had some bad game management stuff, but again, this goes to the whole thing that people hated Jimbo because he inexplicably lost games, and he would call timeouts in the second quarter, and he had no timeouts left in the fourth quarter. Like, this happens everywhere. It really does. It happens to a lot of programs. So, like, Hugh Freeze isn't without his warts, but you add up the good, the positive of what he did on the field far outweighed any sort of, flustering or fumbling away of games that he did otherwise. I mean, the guy owned his in-state rivals, Mississippi State, and they were doing very well when he was there. Beats Alabama twice. Always went toe-to-toe well with Auburn, and Auburn had a couple good years while he was there. So, I mean, he had all the makings of a good coach. And you thought if you went to Florida with the recruits that you can get in Florida, the brand name recognition, like, oh, gosh, watch out. Well, Florida State's in a very similar position, so it would seem like a good marriage. Now, if he doesn't come here, that's a bummer. They got to move on to the next name. I just wonder how many of these guys grow on trees that Willie's going to be okay giving things over to, because it seems like Willie's okay with ceding control, maybe letting a guy come in and run the whole offense. But to Willie's point, too, I think Willie's confident in who he is, and if he can't, I mean, how many guys are out there that Willie's going to be like, okay, I respect him. That guy knows what's up. I will let him do his thing, and I'll just kind of delegate and oversee things and be a manager to a certain degree. The problem is I wish there was more names out there that made sort of sense, that were natural things. I mean, people are throwing Larry Fedora's name out there. Like, I don't think Larry Fedora, I don't know about that. So it's just interesting because it has to be a guy that he's going to give full control to. It doesn't make sense to try to get another young up-and-comer guy unless there were some really deep-seated problems between him and Walt, which we didn't see, and it didn't seem apparent to me.
Larry Fedora, Walt Bell was part of the Larry Fedora tree, so maybe if you brought Larry Fedora back, that gets back to Sam Howell and his family.
Yeah.
And then Sam Howell's like, oh, wait, this guy has a relationship with Walt Bell? Oh, boy, I got myself a chance. Yeah, man, I think it's really interesting. And maybe it's something I'm going to write on. It's because they brought Willie Taggart to Florida State because of his offense. I mean, obviously he's a dynamic recruiter and he done well where he'd been, but his offense was good at Oregon and was really good the last 2 years at South Florida, and that was a selling point.
Yeah,
was Willie Taggart's bringing his offense to Florida State, the lethal simplicity. And now after a year, and I'm not saying you're wrong or fans are wrong. I get it. I watched it too. It's like, well, gosh, he better hire a big-name defensive coordinator or, he's going to be in trouble. Man, Willie Taggart's supposed to be the big name. You know what I mean? Like, Willie Taggart is the guy. It's his offense. It's supposed to be his big name running the thing. And I wonder whether the administration, how much pull they have. I mean, they're not going to fire him. I don't. Willie Taggart, again, is a confident guy. He definitely doesn't think he needs to bring in a Hugh Freeze. We both know that. As far as what's best for the program, what's best for the perception of the program among its fans in the administration. Sure, bring in a big name, let them run the offense. But the more I think about it, the more I really wonder, man, is Willie wanting to do that? Would Willie really do that?
They're legitimately
like he sold
pursuing
himself
him, though. They're legitimately
as being an offensive guy.
I mean, Corey, they're legitimately pursuing Hugh Freeze. He's the head football coach. If he didn't want to go along with it, it wouldn't be happening. So he has to be open to it.
Yeah, but when he was hired a year ago, none of us said, well, it's a good hire, but let's see who he gets as his offensive coordinator. He better bring in a big name like a Kingsbury or a Sarkisian or a Hugh Freeze or a Bryles. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. Like, that's not the stipulation that he was brought in on. He was brought in on his own offense and that he could run it well. And then he did not this year, quite obviously. And a lot of that was him. A lot of that was other things out of his control, but he didn't at all. And now all of a sudden it's flipped to where if they even want fans to show up to games next year, he better have a name that they recognize. And I just think that's interesting. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just think that's really interesting how much it flipped. And quite frankly, that's what happens when you look that bad.
Well, like I said on the show yesterday.
But there's nothing that says he can't. I still think what I thought 4 days ago, his offense can work here. His offense. He's got to get better pieces. But his offense can work here because it's worked everywhere he's been. And he rushed for a ton of yards. And that's just what he does. He can run. His offense scores a lot of points and puts up a lot of yards. I think this was a one-year aberration. I don't think this is the norm. But again, I get it. It's tenuous, man. You go 5-7 again next year, you might not get a chance at a third season.
Exactly. He doesn't have enough time. I mean, if the offensive line needs to be rebuilt, he doesn't have enough time to do it his way. He has to cut a corner here, and he.
But do you think if you bring in a Hugh Freeze and you still go 5-7, and I think Ira might have been trying to make this point yesterday, I can't remember, but don't you think if he brings in a big name and they still struggle, but it's with a big name as an OC, that buys Willie a little more time, like at least one more year? Like, look, we got to get Hugh Freeze's system in place, got to get these guys to learn it, and then we're really going to take off.
No, man. They're not going to pay $1.5, $2 million a year to an offensive coordinator to give that guy 24 games to figure it out. It's got to happen. I mean, it has to happen in 19. You can't be 5-7. That's not
reality,
again.
Man. It's not going to happen in 19. You know who's on this roster.
You can't be 5-7. You can't be 10-14.
Oh no, I'm talking about 7-5, 8-4, but you still get blown out a few times and you still look gross. 6-6, somewhere in that neighborhood where you're fighting for a bowl in November. Not for a championship. Right. You're fighting for a bowl. I think that's exactly where we're going to be again in 2019. I think you think that too. So, that's where the program is. Nothing's getting turned around in 19, no matter who you bring in, unless you bring in the whole Alabama offense. That's going to get turned around in time to make this thing a surefire success in 2020. So that's what I wonder. If you're still struggling to make a bowl, but you also have the crutch of, well, hey, man, they're learning a new system, just like they had to learn a new system last time. If we can get some stability, and once they get their second year in the Freeze system, we're not going to be looking at 7-5. We're looking at 10-2. We're going to build on this thing. Sam Howell threw for 3,000 yards this year. Wait till next year when he's a sophomore. And Tamorian Terry comes back for his junior year.
Redshirt.
And DJ Matthews, redshirt junior year. Yeah. DJ Matthews is coming for his senior year. Yeah.
I think Florida State's I wish they would have come around to spending, 7 figures on assistant coaches a few years ago, but we are where we are right now. Again, I think if the university is going to step up.
But real quick, because there's a perception that Florida State is cheap. I mean, They're paying ever since the last 3 years of Jimbo's tenure. Again, they had one of the 10 highest paid assistant staffs in the country. He wasted that money. He did. He wasted it. He had a $40 million buyout. Their DC right now is guaranteed to making $3 million a year. Now, you might not like the job he's doing, but they paid for him. They went out and spent on him. And I think they would go out and spend 1.4, 1.5 on a great offensive coordinator. But at the time when they hired Willie Taggart, they thought they were getting a great offensive coordinator in Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they didn't feel like they had to go get somebody like a Hugh Freeze or somebody of that ilk because they thought they were getting him as the head coach. That's all I would say. I think they're willing to spend the money because they know it's a bottom line business, man, and people aren't going to come to this, aren't going to go to that stadium if they continue to look like that.
Yeah, and again, if they're going to invest in that, I think Florida State's going to expect an instant turnaround. I'm not saying 10-2, 11-2, anything crazy like that, but like 8 wins. I mean, and if you're going to lose games, you can't lose them the way you did against Notre Dame and the way you lost them against Clemson and Florida and NC State. You can't do it that way. And I don't know. I really do think everything hinges on if you're going to go in this path, which it seems like they're on this course. I don't know. Maybe this is their one swings to go after a guy like Freeze, and if it falls through, okay, we will let Willie. You can get an up and coming guy, and we'll grin and bear through another. I can't see this with the schedule they have next year and the importance of season tickets. And if they go out and they're 5-7 again with a name that no one recognizes and a product that doesn't look all that great, then what?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think Willie Taggart is better. I think Willie Taggart gives himself a little more stability if he hires a big name. If he brings in somebody nobody's ever heard of and it's still his offense, and they go 4-8, 5-7, yeah, he might not be there in 2020. But if he hires a proven OC that has a great track record, well, then people are going to assume, okay, it's coming around. I know they went 5-7 this year, but let's say they averaged 28 points a game. And they had, the 8th worst offensive line in the country instead of the worst. And they made some improvement, and the record was still around the same, 6-6, 7-5, 5-7. But the offense looked a little better. Then I think he buys himself another year. If he goes 5-7 next year with his own offense, with a unheard of, no name offensive coordinator, I think he's got bigger. I think that's when they might be like, look, okay, this isn't working. As opposed to, all right, let's give the Taggart Freeze or Taggart Kingsbury. I know he's not coming, but let's give that duo one more year to work this out because we believe in him. Either way, he doesn't need to be going 5-7.
It makes sense. I hear what you're saying. I think in any event, 5-7 and 19 is just it spells doom for somebody. Just either they're going to have to fire the offensive coordinator who's making $1.5 million, or they're going to have to fire an offensive coordinator who's making $650,000. Yeah.
Well, no, I think if it's 5-7, I think the chances are you're firing the head coach.
Yeah.
And everybody with him. I don't think it's just, okay, we gave Hugh Freeze a chance. Now let's go get somebody else. I think if you get Hugh Freeze, number one, he's not getting a 1-year contract. So if you're signing Hugh Freeze, you're getting him for at least a couple of years, unless he's so good that he goes elsewhere. But it's just an odd time because you also don't know. You have 2 guys returning at QB, and you don't know if either one of them are actually going to be here.
Yeah.
It's a really weird, bizarre time.
What a time to cover the beat, man. What a time to cover
I'm telling you, it's something. You're right, man. It's exciting stuff. It's stuff to talk about anyway, since we're not talking about the Car Care Bowl.
Yeah. Things we weren't even able to talk about on yesterday's show. Brian Burns announced on Monday that he was going pro. That's not surprising. I think he got a pretty good grade. I think we have a question coming up tomorrow in Renegade Express about somebody said that I think one outlet's got him as a top 15 prospect. That's awesome. If the case, I wish the best of luck to him. He was never coming back, right? All along we knew he was gone, right? It's not a loss.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody was stunned by that news at all. And good luck to that kid, man, because I looked it up in the PFF numbers yesterday. He played 840 snaps, and the only person that played more on the entire team was Eberle. But Eberle wasn't having to chase quarterbacks the whole season.
Yeah.
Like literally Brian Burns played, I think it was like 840 of a possible 872 total snaps. Just incredible because, they didn't blow anybody out. Just an incredible showing by that kid. And he played as hard in game 12 as he did in game 1. He's got some limitations size-wise, sure. But he really played hard, and teams really had to account for him. And for him to play that many snaps, even when it was obvious the season was going down the drain, really says a lot about him. I think, he's not one of the greatest Florida State defensive ends of all time, but he's somebody that I hope is remembered fondly by Florida State fans because he did give it all in the worst season in decades, he did give it his all, man, and played really hard the entire season.
Yeah. Much love to Brian.
I'm interested. I mean, I saw Mel Kiper. None of it matters in December, man. None of these guys have been scouted by actual scouts. McShay and Kiper, their big boards are just completely and utterly meaningless in December. They're more meaningful when you get to April because they've talked to NFL personnel. Right now, they have no clue, and not many of these guys have been scouted. But Mel Kiper had Brian Burns as like his number 3 outside linebacker. And so, yeah, I mean, he could be, I guess he could slip into the first round. With that size, and we don't really know about his coverage skills, but he's certainly a good enough athlete to do it. It'll just be a matter of his size, his frame scares people away.
Yeah. Best of luck to him.
Yeah.
In a bit of so Josh Ball, a former offensive lineman at Florida State, went to Butler Community College after being suspended from the university after being found responsible for being involved in physical altercations with his former girlfriend on numerous occasions, is actually going to be up for, I don't want to call it parole, or reinstatement's the word that we use in the civilian world, I guess. But he'll be able to go before, I think, the Florida State Code of Conduct Board or the student board to be reinstated. And from what we had heard, and Michael Langston had been able to piece together, Josh Ball was very interested in returning to Florida State. And on Tuesday, his ex-girlfriend reached out or was contacted by another media outlet and had
she
some
posted
really
on
strong
Facebook
words.
too.
I mean, did you see the quote from her?
I saw her post on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that she posted on Facebook. Yeah, and I guess it puts us in another cycle of offensive linemen being a problem. I feel like he served his penance and what have you, but that's, I don't know. I don't want to say Florida State's reputation, because everyone's got their sort of compass of who they'll let in and who they won't play based on their talent. Feels like that's something that they probably can't count on. So something that we penciled in for possible improvement for 19. This guy returns to campus. I imagine it's going to be really tough, especially if she's going to be vocal about it. And I'm not saying if she can or can't, it's right or wrong, but I imagine that's going to it's going to have to, muddy up the water a little bit in terms of him trying to get reinstated. And it's not a good look. Hey, we haven't said that one in a long time.
And she certainly can talk about it. She has every right to talk about it, and she should talk about it. And if it would just be completely asinine on every level. On every level. I believe she's still a student at Florida State. I just don't know, when you bring a person back like that, and again, this isn't just a one-time mistake. This is repeated behavior. If you bring a person like that back on your campus, what are you as a head coach telling the female population of your campus?
Well, first off, it's not Willie's call. I mean,
no, it's Willie's call to put him on the football team.
Right.
And if he wasn't going to be on the football team, he would not come back to Florida State. So it is Willie's call. And I'm not saying he's coming or going. I don't know. I don't have any inside knowledge. But if you tell Josh Ball, yeah, man, we'd love to have you back, Mr. rated number 690 in the country last year, we got to have you back, which I know I'm being tongue-in-cheek, but he would have been like the second best lineman on the team this year. What are you telling the female population? That your football team is more important than their safety. That's the bottom line. This guy it was not a one-time incident. It was not a DeAndre Johnson incident. This guy had a repeated behavior of assaulting this woman. So much so that he got kicked out of school. And he signed a plea. I actually got it right here. So I'm just going to read it to you. The injunction, Ball and the woman reached an agreement in a petition for protection against dating violence in November of 2017. In the agreement, Ball had to stay at least 500 feet away from her residence, her parents' residence, and her church. He also had to stay at least 100 feet from her at school. The injunction mentioned 11 incidents between the two, including 3 that included physical contact. Ball allegedly slapped her in the face after breaking her cell phone, and in a separate incident, pushed her into a closet after getting angry that she did not text him back quickly enough. He also threw her to the floor once, claiming she didn't spend enough time with him. In her quotes, and I'll read this to you because that's where I got the whole, her quote on Facebook is, or it was on Instagram, I'm sorry. I'm trying to put, and by the way, people, if you have kids, I know some people listen to us when you're in your car and you're driving to school, you're dropping your kids off at school. If they're elementary age kids, maybe turn this down or, pause it until they get out. We don't need to subject 9-year-olds to this awfulness. But anyway, so she wrote on Instagram, I'm trying to put this behind me, but I will not be silenced and intimidated by this repeat sexual and physical abuser. His reprehensible behavior is public record. For Willie Taggart to even consider bringing him back on campus is a physical threat to me and any other woman at FSU. He's been given multiple chances and was enabled by the previous coaching staff, who even conspired to cover up his behavior and blame me. Trust me when I say FSU does not want to reopen this wound. And what's the point? Why would you do that? It just would be it's not an awful look, because that implies that it just looks bad, but it's not bad. Yeah. If you bring this guy back to your campus where this woman still attends school, or where he got into all this trouble, man, it's not a bad look. It's a bad thing to do.
Oh, people can't change. I mean, if he goes before the student, the student panel.
Hey, stay out and go change somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, go change somewhere else. It's not Florida State's problem, man. It's your problem. And it's certainly not this woman's problem. She doesn't have to be worried about her safety because you're in the same city with the same zip code. Go somewhere else, man. Try somewhere else. And I'm sorry, he can certainly live his life, and he did not go to prison. So he's able to go to college and he's able to go play football. It doesn't need to be at the place that kicked him out of school. For the reason he got kicked out of school, this wasn't flunking a test. Go build up your life somewhere else. DeAndre Johnson didn't get to come back to school. And that was legitimately a one-time incident from a kid that never had any history of doing anything violent. This guy had 11 incidents, was kicked out of school. Don't bring him back. And not to be callous, he's also not worth the risk. But just don't bring him back. What kind of program are you trying to run?
Well, they're going after Hugh Freeze, so
exactly. Imagine an offseason where they bring in Hugh Freeze and Josh Ball, and then imagine Willie Taggart talking to us about anything, family, accountability, making these good people. More important to be good students and good people than winning football games.
Yeah.
It all kind of falls on deaf. It's a little hollow, right?
Changing the culture, man.
Exactly. You're changing the culture. You're going to bring back the guy that was part of the culture problem.
Yeah.
Again, go play college football anywhere you want, Josh. Go play anywhere you want. I'm not saying he should be deprived of his rights. He's not in prison. Go play football. Go play college football. Go earn money playing in the NFL. Fine. Don't come back to Florida State. That's Corey Clark's take on it. So we'll see. Good. It's a really interesting time here at Florida State.
Let's give us something good to talk about before we sign off. We can't sign off on that. That was a bummer. You just shot down our potential solution at left tackle for 2019, Corey. So thanks for that. Appreciate it.
I apologize, everyone. So I tweeted about this. I don't know if you saw it, but we were having a parent-teacher conference with Brady's math teacher, because Brady is a very intelligent. Brady is my 10-year-old son, for the people that don't know. He's a very intelligent kid, but he struggles with math because he especially math problems which require steps. He just wants to get to the answer because that's how his mind works. He races through things, and he ends up struggling. And so we were talking to him about his problems and that he can do the work. And that's what his teacher was saying, is like, look, he can do the work. He's certainly capable. He gets it, but he misses questions because he's not reaching his potential, because he's rushing through things, trying to get it done quickly instead of being careful. And, he should have better than a 75. He's not living up to his potential as a really good student. And Brady whispered to me, because he kept hearing that he wasn't reaching his potential. He whispered to me, Daddy, while the teacher was talking, mind you, because that's Brady. Daddy, I'm like the Anthony Bennett of math.
What?
For people that don't know, and probably most of you don't, Anthony Bennett was the number 1 overall pick by the Cavaliers, I don't know, like 8 years ago?
Yeah, about 2009.
Yeah, and played like 9 games and was terrible. And somehow my 10-year-old son even knows who that is and then knows to equate his math ability with Anthony Basketball's NBA career.
Oh, man. I love that, Brady.
He's something, man. He has his moments.
He's awesome, man. All right, good stuff, man. That makes me feel all right.
Oh, and one more thing. I think people like this. This might be a little it's a little graphic. It's scatological humor.
Oh, gosh.
But it's anyway, I just thought it was funny. I told Stephanie about it yesterday and she laughed. So Brady this is a crazy story. So Brady, I get a call yesterday that I have to go pick up Brady from school because the message is Brady threw up 5 times. And I'm like, oh no. So I call back and say, now what happened? He threw up 5 times. And the lady in the clinic, who was not the nurse, said, yeah, well, I just got a note here that says saw mold, threw up 5 times. I'm like, well, what does the first part mean? And she goes, yeah, I'm not real sure either, but saw mold. So anyway, I finally get Brady, and in their class experiment, over the last 3 weeks, they've had a pie, and they've let mold grow on it for a science experiment. And finally, she showed him what it looked like after a week and a half, and Brady legitimately got sick. Because, us Clark boys have really strong institutions, apparently. So he rushed to the trash can and threw up. And the teacher thought he was just joking because he's Brady. And she's like, you did not throw up. You did not. And he goes, I did. And then the kids like 8 kids went over to the trash can and go, oh, yeah, he did throw up. So anyway, he kept, one kid said, oh, I think I could eat that thing. And that made Brady run back to the trash can and throw up again.
Oh, no.
So anyway, yeah. So when I got to him in the clinic, he was really mad that they wouldn't let him go back to class. He's like, I'm fine. I'm not sick. And they're like, look, there's a policy. If you throw up multiple times, you can't go back to class. And so he was really upset that he had to leave. But I wasn't completely convinced that he wasn't actually sick, like he didn't have a stomach virus or something. So anyway, later on that night, this is where the scatological part comes in. He goes to the bathroom, and I said, so how was it? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, how much was it? Like wondering, just if it was a big, like he had stomach issues.
Yeah. He
goes, no, Daddy, it wasn't a Clark boy special. It was just a normal one. So, anyway.
Oh, jeez.
The old Clark boy special.
Did you call your dad Daddy?
I think I did when I was his age. But when I got to about a teenager, I called him Pops.
Okay. All right.
I moved on to Pops. Yeah, I'm not going to let him. It's not going to be one of those weird Southern things where a grown man calls his dad Daddy or Diddy.
Right.
And I say weird. I have people in my family that do it. It's just always odd to me to call somebody Daddy when they're. I mean, there's other connotations. Daddy can be used. It's weird. It'd be weird coming from a 17-year-old kid. So anyway. There's your Brady update. After the Josh Ball bummer, I had to give you the Brady Clark update to end it on a light note. What about you, buddy? Why don't you give us a lighthearted story, and then we'll be done with another marathon podcast.
No, that was good. That was going. I don't have a good lighthearted one, man. I'm you know me. I don't know. There's not a lot of good going on over here, man. I'm Eeyore. It's got a dark cloud hanging over me, man.
I hear you, buddy. All right, fair enough.
No,
so we're doing Renegade Express tomorrow.
Yes, Renegade Express tomorrow. We're taking your questions. And stay connected to warchant.com throughout the day because we expect to know thumbs up, thumbs down on Hugh Freeze. And as we sign off here, as we get closer to actually Wednesday morning right now, it sounds like some of the momentum is slowing down. So you guys will probably know more than we do at this exact moment when you're listening to it at your exact moment of listening to it. So, as always, thanks for listening. Maybe hop on iTunes, leave a 5-star review. I haven't been on there to check it lately. I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 that are not 5-star and probably say something mean. Go ahead and do something nice for your guy. I'd appreciate it. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening. Catch up with you guys later.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.